Dr. Renee here of Pleasant Leadership Consulting, where we inspire your leadership for freedom. So welcome back to our final segment in this series, Decision Making and Problem Solving. This is part 3, and it's called Critical Thinking and Analyzing Your Options. So if you haven't done so, hit the subscribe button so you're notified every week when we upload videos, and you'll be aware of the next series that's coming up. All right, here we go. So we all want to be labeled as a critical thinker, and then we want to be able as leaders to look at our followers and find those who are critical thinkers because they are going to move our organization forward. So you might be wondering what characteristics make up a critical thinker. So glad you asked. Studies have shown that critical thinkers are observant, they have curiosity, they're objective, they're introspective, they are high in analytical thinking, they identify biases easily, they determine relevance, and they have exceptional inferencing skills. They also have compassion and empathy, humility. They're willing to challenge the status quo. They're risk takers. They have open-mindedness. They're aware of common thinking errors. That's part of their intuitiveness. Creative thinking comes natural to them, and most important of all, they are effective communicators. So look over this characteristic of critical thinking list and how many of those words describe you, and then think about your followers. Who is scoring high on this list of attributes? Okay, here is the steps for critical thinking, and you will find a lot of familiarity in these steps, and there's a reason for the repetition in this series because I want it to stick into your head. So critical thinkers identify the problem, they conduct research, they determine the data relevance, they ask questions. There's no harm in asking questions. They identify the best solution, they present the solution, and then they analyze the decision. Critical thinkers, there's your steps right there. Guess what? It's very similar to all the decision-making processes. Our next segment is on analyzing options. Now, on the screen is not an inclusive list, okay? There are plenty of other tools out here. Here are just 3 of the most common decision-making tools that you can use for objectivity in recording your data and your observations. One is the SWOT analysis. Now, if you followed me for a hot minute, you know I am a huge fan of the SWOT analysis. There is the cost-benefit analysis, and there is decision matrices. We're going to talk about a few of these today. So you may be wondering, I hear a lot about a SWOT analysis, but I don't know when to implement it. Here's when you do. You implement it anytime there's going to be a large change, okay? Whenever you're launching a new company initiative, that's a big change, right? Identifying opportunities for growth and improvement, which you should be doing every year. I highly recommend in November that you do a SWOT analysis for the upcoming year. When you want a full overview of your business's performance, a SWOT analysis will help you give that to you in a blink of an eye. Should data drive your decision making? Yes, resoundingly yes. So what is the importance of data when using the decision-making model? Well, first of all, it increases your confidence. You have data insight that allows you to make the sound decision. It improves your accountability. It decreases biases in decisions because you have data to back it up. It increases proactivity, and it opens the doors for new business opportunities. Woohoo! Who doesn't want that? So how do you collect the data that you need to make a decision? Well, there's a plethora of ways. What you see on the screen is just a smidge of the opportunities to collect data. One is through simple observation, one is through interviews, one is through questionnaires, schedules, right? You can look over your schedules and find out what is or was not working, or surveys. Again, this is just a small sampling of methods for collecting data to help you make your next great decision. So you've collected your data and now you need to analyze it. How do you do that? Well, first of all, you have to have defined goals ahead of time, decide how you're going to measure those goals, collect the data. Notice that collecting the data is step number 3, not step number 1, but step number 3. Then you analyze the data and then you visualize and interpret your results. If that last step on the previous slide got your heart racing because you're not sure how to interpret data, then let me help you. You just develop your discoveries, you draw conclusions, and you give recommendations. That's interpreting data. The foundation of every decision made by a business leader should be ethical. So let's talk about ethical decision making. When making decisions with an ethical point of view, there are typically three principles that are thought of, and that's charity, autonomy, and justice. When making your next business decision and you want to have that as with an ethical viewpoint, you are going to most likely look at the situation through one or multiple of the six lenses that lends itself to ethical decision making. You're going to look at the rights, the justice, the unitarian, the common good, the virtue, and the care of each solution. This concludes part three, and it also concludes our series on decision making and problem solving. I hope that you've enjoyed it. We welcome your comments below and join us next week for a new series.